Hi, I'm Bowling Otter.
And I'm Lissy Sandwich.
And welcome to
The BS on the internet.
Well, it's been another one of those weeks.
You know, it's been another one of those weeks. It has been one of those, 2-day periods.
Yeah, roughly.
You guys, we have had...
It's been a hell of a...
We have a story to tell you. We're going to go a little bit off the beaten path here because we have to tell you about our last 24 hours.
Yeah.
Which have probably been some of the most stressful, stressful hours of my life.
Yeah, we had a coming of age to some degree. You know, we had I don't know. We went through a trial, I think, that all parents go through.
Yeah.
You know, and we had our first experience with it. And we will talk about that.
Yes.
In a very short while.
So, but we have a lot to go through.
Yes.
But we want to start with that first because I want to get it off of my chest. I need to talk about it. It messed up our streams for the week, or at least our recording schedule a little bit.
Yeah, it really
We wound
did.
up scooting our streams forward. We're going to be streaming. This is up Sunday. We'll stream tonight Spider-Man. Last night we will have streamed my solo Outlast, hopefully, if all went well.
To plan. Yeah.
But we wound up in the ER.
We wound up in the ER.
With Toddler Otter. And tell them what happened. We'll go back and forth. We won't drag it out. But
So
my
bad.
God,
I mean,
you
it's not that bad.
Yes.
Okay, and he's
oh
fine.
Oh my God. Yes, he's fine. He's fine.
It's just totally to us was momentarily overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens? I'm giving him a bath. I give him a bath every night.
Yeah, and I move around and I get his PJs together and I make his bed.
Yeah,
and
I'm washing his hair and scrubbing him down and stuff, right? And we're doing the same old bath we always do. And he slips a lot in there. He's up on his knees, and every now and then I'll kind of slip and go to the side.
There's a bath mat.
It's a bath mat, but he's still a toddler and he's clumsy. So he slips and he kind of goes like, oh, okay, let me get back up. And last night he slipped and nailed his eye right about here, right there, on the edge of the bathtub.
Like the curved edge of the...
Just went boom, and then immediately started wailing, crying really hard, and he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Even when he gets hurt, if he hits his head, if he does anything, he doesn't cry.
He's a tough kid.
He just goes like,
yeah.
And then he keeps going. He's like, he never
if he
cries.
We know he's hurt.
If he ever cries, he really got hurt. And this was time he just started crying like that. And I'm like, what happened? I'm thinking, he just hit his head. Okay, so because he's clumsy, he's toddler. Sometimes he hits his head.
Happens.
But he stood up and he turned around and just blood. And it was like, oh, I mean, instant.
You went like, oh my God.
Yeah. I have to find a way to reprogram myself for that. Because Lissy, thank God, was immediately like, just okay, act calm, just look at him, everything's cool. So I'm just like, okay, cool, let's take a look, and collected myself. But my initial reaction was just like, my son is bleeding really badly.
It looks like gore, a horror movie. It looked horrible. Yeah,
and it was terrible. And we're dabbing and it keeps bleeding. And Lissy's like, we might have to go to the ER. So you call the ER doctor.
Yeah.
And just explained it, and we're looking at it, and it started and by the way, a good 2 minutes after he's over it.
He's fine.
He's in the bathtub just literally smiling, singing along, playing stuff. I'm going around him trying to dab to see if it's still bleeding, which it was. And he's just kind of anyway, I'm splashing around and
swatting us away.
He was totally over it. And we're like, oh my God, I think we had to take him to the ER because it was pretty split.
Yeah, the doctor, when I called, when we were looking at it, it was right in the line of his eyelid, in his eyelid crease, and it's about a centimeter long. And because of where it is, and you guys know, if you watch MMA or boxing or whatever, how easily that area of your head bleeds. And I'm sure a lot of you have stories and things of you hitting that area or your chin, they just gush, right?
Yeah, skin's really thin.
And I'm looking at it, and it kind of flayed a little bit. It kind of was open, and I'm like, oh geez, even if it clots and he just goes and rolls over in the middle of the night or something, I was worried he'd rub his eye and rip it, and then he would bleed into his eye.
He does. He rubs his eye all the time, right there.
Yeah, when he gets tired, he rubs his
and when
eye.
he wakes up. So there was no way he wasn't going to do that.
So I called the ER doctor, and he said, has it been actively bleeding for 10 minutes? And at this point, you kept him in the tub.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, you might want to go and get that checked out and see if he either needs some sutures or a stitch, or some Dermabond, which is that glue that can close it, or some steri strips. So we were like, all right. So we put him in his PJs and we get him in the car, and he's like, you know, like totally fine. We're a wreck. We're like, you know, if you're happy and you know, it's happy hands, you know, and he's like, wow,
oh God, that thing's still bleeding.
9:15, and we're like, we were going to record some Tomb Raider and all this stuff. So long story short, we get there. And they decide that, well, because he's tired, he's starting to bounce off the walls. He's getting real squirmy.
Yeah, he gets just clumsy and sort of really high energy when he's tired.
He gets really like zoomy when he's tired. And they said, well, he's too squirmy to put some stitches in, so we'll put those steri strips on, which are those, like, they're super strong, like stickers, you know, or bandages, and they stick them on. I had them for my C-section. Sometimes you get them in for surgeries and things like that now, and they wanted to put on a bunch of them just to hold it closed, and because it was starting to puff up, you know, he had like a little bit of a shiner, so the whole process of having that done, like,
that was actually the bad part.
Yeah, like I burst into tears. Poor Maddie had to hold him down.
Yeah,
and
it was not
which
cool,
was
guys.
horrific. And to their credit, I got the crotch burps already. Ugh. To their credit, in the hospital, they had like a child care advocate come in and say, is there anything he likes? Does he have like a favorite toy? Like, what can we do? And we went, well, like, he likes Sesame Street. He likes cars. He likes anything with buttons, like, you know, game controllers, remotes, things with the batteries out, anything that lights up. So they were like, okay. So she goes and comes back, and she had some toys, and she was very kind. They were all really patient.
She brought that steering wheel at one time, which worked
there was
really
a little
well.
toy with a steering wheel on it and a horn.
Super into it, so it helped a lot.
Yeah, it did. And she put Sesame Street on and everything. But of course, we were waiting forever. We wound up not leaving.
Yes, the ER.
And we got in at about midnight, and we left at about 9:15. So there was a lot of waiting. You know, we were trying to keep him occupied. We're talking to each other, trying to calm each other down. But the whole idea of, like, he had to sit on Matt's lap, and Matt had to cross his legs over his legs. Like, so if, like, here's Cookie Monster, right? So, like, you had to hold his arms down like this, and then, like, hold his forehead
had to hold his
down.
forehead so he could, because you know, this
so
is what they're trying to do.
move.
It would be different if it was his arm or shoulder or anything else. The fact is, right here, he couldn't move his head back and forth.
Yeah.
So I had to hold his head, which made him cry.
Yeah.
Right, and then squirm.
Made me cry.
And he was going back and forth.
Yeah.
Which made me had to hold him tighter, which made him cry harder. And so it was such a strange feeling. Like, it's hard to describe. It's the idea being that, like, when your kid cries, like, your immediate instinct is to just figure out whatever's making him cry and try to make it stop.
Yeah,
and when you realize he's crying because you're doing it, and then you have to do it harder because he's crying, which makes him cry harder, freaking terrible. I mean, it was terrible. I had a really hard time with it, to be honest. And like, I still kind of am, because I was just yesterday.
Yeah.
But I was surprised.
24 hours ago it was happening.
I was surprised at how much
so
that
fresh.
got to me specifically.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it's one of those things where everybody tells you don't know what it's like to have a kid until you have a kid. Blah, 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 blah. And it's all freaking true. Yeah. You know, like, all those cliches are true. Yeah. And you just don't understand. There's something very primal about it, I guess, at that point.
There is. And
there's like a part of your personality that you don't even know is there until that accesses it.
Yeah,
you know?
turn like an animal. You know what I mean? And, you know, the whole thing, I was telling this to my mom today, the whole thing of them putting the strips on, they had to, like, do some iodine, rinse it, dry it, and then put about 5 or 6 steri strips there. And the whole thing altogether probably only took about 3 minutes. Yeah. But it felt so long. And I found myself saying to myself, like, what's taking so long? Hurry. Like, he's crying. Yeah. You know, like, he's upset. Hurry up.
You can't. It's like, you know, the doctor has to do it right. Yeah. I mean, because the whole time, like, the reason that, you know, the obviously what you reconcile with having to do something like that is because, you know, the alternative is far worse. Yeah. You know, and besides, it was like, they gave me the option not to do it. Yeah. Like, you comfortable doing it? We can have somebody else do it. I'm thinking, like, no way. No way am I letting anybody else do this. Basically, it's like, that would be worse for him. Yeah. And I would feel, oh my God, I would feel like total.
And especially now he's in, I think we talked about this before, he's in a daddy phase right now. If you're not in like if he doesn't know where you are or something, if you leave for a moment, he goes, daddy, 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 daddy. So I was like, it's good, especially now being in the daddy phase that he's in right now. Like today he was just, and we were worried, we were like, oh geez, but today he was just, we're eating dinner and he looks at Maddie and is like,
yeah, he was really staring at me like.
He just said, yeah, I know. And I was like,
hey, dude,
he loves him. So like, I know those two are like peas in a pod.
I love this dude.
I know.
And I was afraid he would be like afraid of me for a little bit after when I did this, and he wasn't. Oh my God, he snapped out. He snapped back like it was nothing.
He's so resilient.
Like
he
a
really
couple
is.
minutes after,
and
he was
so
a little whimpery after it happened.
Yeah.
Obviously, but only for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And then he was happy again.
Yeah, then he was okay.
That's all it took. He's so resilient.
I am concerned. I don't want him to get any anxiety of being like held tight or anything. So we're giving him a little bit of space. He had a little hospital bracelet on. I had one as well. And I went to go cut it off this morning, and I kind of held his forearm, and I was like, oh, let me take your arm for a minute, and held so I could cut this off. And he kind of, with a really short fuse, kind of like recoiled. So I was like, okay, we'll leave it on. That's fine. I'm not going to push him. But I think just that firm grip, is kind of, he's associating it right now. So I'm giving him a little bit of space for a little while. Yeah. I'm letting him come to me if he wants a hug and things like that. He was this morning really cuddly. He wanted to sit on my lap. He wanted me to hug him. He just wanted me to like rock him a little bit, but he's so resilient. But God, when they were doing those stitches, he's looking at me and he's bawling.
They're steri strips.
Yeah, the steri strips, the stitches, yeah. He's looking at me and he's looking at me. He's going, Mama, Mama, Mama.
Yeah.
And I started to cry, and he's like holding my hand and squeezing my hand, and I had like my head on his head, on the other side of his head, and I was kind of like in his ear and talking to him in his ear. So the three of our heads were like really close together while all this was going on, and it wrecked us. So we get everything done. We come home. We gave him a big glass of milk when he came back, and he was asleep in about 2 minutes. And Maddie and I, on the other hand, took about 2 hours for the adrenaline to kind of wind down. I didn't sleep at all. And we were going to stream tonight, or I was going to stream tonight. And I said, you know what? I'm so tired. I tried to take a nap this afternoon, and I was still too shaken to what I think it's going to take me a couple days to kind of calm down from this, because that was really intense. And I was trying to be as calm as I could, and I think we did an okay job. We were smiling at him.
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
we obviously made sure none of this was going to show when we were handling the situation.
I didn't want him to see me cry.
No,
So I kind of like wiped my face on you and kind of, and was just kind of up, and I was trying to smile and say like, it's okay. Like, look at me, and kind of, but like, I don't want to minimize, you want to be calm, but you don't want to make it seem like what he's going through isn't difficult. Like, you want to validate that he feels bad,
Yeah, there's only so much you can do.
He's so tiny.
Yeah,
he's so tiny.
Yeah, it's as simpler than that right
he's
now.
He'll be 2 in 2 weeks.
Right now, it's just giving him reassuring feelings and reassuring looks and like something like to make him feel comfortable and
all
safe.
Feeling and
That's
touch.
really all we can do.
Yeah,
there's nothing else we can really communicate with him in that situation. Which is what made it tough, because it's like there's no way I could tell you that why we're doing this and why it's going to be okay and why it's a good idea.
Right.
You cannot. That made it uniquely strange, right? Because like, even if we had, I guess I'll eat my words when we eventually get there, but I'm thinking like if we had a child, small child still, but one that we can speak with and communicate with, at least you can have some sort of explanation behind it.
Right.
It's like, it sounds terrible, but it's like a pet. Like if you had a dog or a cat, and you need to like do something to the stitches to that, and they're not going to get it, and they're going to think they're being hurt and something terrible, and you wish you could just tell them that like, no, this is going to be good and better, and you can't, and it's one of those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's like, because right now, we can't talk to him. We do communicate, but he has, a limited vocabulary. It's like, dogs, cats, and, colors, and, mommy, daddy. But most of our communication is through like hugs and kisses and playing and things and like look and pick you up and smiles and
laughs
but his vocabulary is coming together really quick. He's doing a lot more talking, and I think he understands our tone, he understands our energy and all that. So that's like all we could have done. But what I want to know is if any of you have gone through anything like this when you were little, or do you have a kid that you had to take to the ER? How did you handle it? And if you were young and something like this happened to you, did you remember it? I don't want him to, have a fear of being held tight. I don't want to, I'm a therapist, so I'm going to think the worst case scenario, and I'm going to jump to a million conclusions. Chances are, in all truth,
I'm usually trying to play the polar opposite in this relationship and be like, it's fine.
I know.
It's okay.
But in all honesty, he probably won't remember it. He may have small little flashes of it by the time, he's an adolescent or, an adult or something like, oh yeah, maybe I remember crying. I remember they had Elmo on. I remember, and that's probably
But you worry
all
about the
it'll be.
Subconscious. That's what you worry about.
Sure, yeah, the physicalness, what you're
like not like an actual
on,
like necessarily a memory, but like something that affects the way they approach things later in a way that they have no idea why, like one of those personality shaping things. That's kind of what I think is like worst case scenario
because
here.
But
we are so freaking leaping right now, of course, because this just happened, and like
because it does happen, and I'm sure some of you have experience with this as well, where sometimes if you go through, like, say you're 4 years old and you get bit by a dog, and that triggers a phobia of dogs for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Or you have, like, you almost drown when you're 6, and then you're afraid of water.
I remember I got stung by a bee at the very worst time.
Yeah.
And it affected, like, seeing bees for the rest of my life,
Right. These, like, malleable years like that are so important. So I'm thinking, like, okay, like, how was that? It's not going to be pleasant. There's nothing we can do about that. Like, was it the holding? Was it the, so I'm hoping, I doubt anything will come out of it just because he is so young. But ease my mind, please, because I am just like.
Well, you know what eases my mind is every parent that I've come across since this has basically been
today.
Like. So it happened, didn't it? Like, sucks, right?
Yeah.
Okay, like, welcome to the club. Like, everyone has had this happen.
Even in the ER, they were like, you'll be back. You've got a little boy.
Yeah.
Those head wounds bleed like crazy.
Yeah.
You just just prepare yourself. And we get home and Maddie's like, I was giving him the bath. Like, could I have...
Oh my God, that was killing me. Like, I was giving him the bath.
Yeah, I know.
Every time, because right now he's got the story strips, I see it, and every time I look at him, I'm just like, oh man, giving him a bath tonight.
Yeah.
This is the first bath that came him since, and I was like, so like,
I know. We were like, is he done? All right, get him out. Usually we have him play a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. That was hard to get in my head because it's like, I could have just done this. I could have been a little more careful when I did this, and he wouldn't have fallen. And like,
yeah, you can't do that. I mean, that kind of thing, it will ruin you.
Yeah, I'm trying to just stop. But it's hard because I am like, I try to be like a reason-based, logic-based person.
Right.
And if I go down that road, then I always reason myself into a way where I should have prevented it from happening.
Yeah.
And that I have to have some blame for it.
Yeah.
And like, so I had to just stop thinking about it because I'm going to reason myself into that corner. And that's going to bug me.
Of course.
A lot. But
anyway, I mean, you don't want to hurt him, but
we have to move on.
We do have to move on. But it's the first time he and I have really talked about it in the 24 hours. It's been crazy.
Yes.
But he's fine. He was in a great mood today. He slept about an hour later. He took a really long nap. He's no less resilient with
this than he is with everything else.
He's got a little black eye. Did you see today? He's got like a little like purple. His eyelids a little purple.
I saw as soon as I got him up this morning when I took him out of the crib when he woke up and I put him down to change his diaper and I just saw that right away. I'm like, oh, he's got like a little black eye now.
My God. The pediatrician goes, the girls are gonna love him. He's gonna have a little scar. I was like, oh, I didn't tell you this. They told me to. After it heals for the next year, put sunscreen on him all the time.
Oh.
Yeah, because it'll help with the scar with his little baby skin. I forgot to tell you that.
Well, cool.
Yeah, I know. All more excuse to wear sunscreen. Wear sunscreen every day, guys.
Yeah,
every day.
White folks.
I have my sunscreen on. Do you have sunscreen on? I wear sunscreen every day.
If I'm actually gonna be out in the direct sunlight, It
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Even on cloudy days in the shade, wear sunscreen.
Yeah.
Moving on. Okay, so bear with me for a second. This is completely on the other end of the universe. Okay, wearing a toupee. So we were looking through Reddit for top of all time.
From toddler to wearing a toupee.
For top of the week on Reddit. And this was here on the interesting as subreddit. So look at this. Look at this guy getting this toupee put on. We just watched this. I did not know how this was done. if at all. Yeah, a little bit of glitter.
It looks like he's putting like mayo on
A
his head.
little paddle. That is so bizarre. Is that real hair though?
It may be real hair.
Look at that, guys.
Yeah, that's
Look.
crazy. And you know what? There was a very interesting angle on this. That's incredible, right? And there was what was the comment that we saw?
Oh, have you ever seen a
good
bad
toupee? Have you ever seen a good toupee?
Yeah.
And the idea obviously being like, how would you ever know?
How would you know if you saw a good one? Yeah. I went to school with a dude who was in my Spanish class, and we were in some kind of group. So we were like at his house doing some kind of group project, and his dad had one, and he would take it off and on while we were all there, but it had snaps. So he had like a handful of actual snaps implanted in his skull. And he would go like, and he would go like, dit, 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 and in like rows, and then just pull off the toupee and go like, oh, it's hot today or whatever. And we'd be like, and he called it his unit. His unit. I gotta take off my unit. But it was like, at that time, considered like a top of the line type of like,
that is
unbelievable.
Bizarre.
But then what about this thing? Like, do you take that off?
I guess eventually you take it off. I guess it's one that like lasts a certain amount of time, then you've got to go get it replaced.
That is unreal.
Because that looks like it's being put on in such a way that it is not meant to be removed. So I don't know.
That's crazy. I guess like, do you see your real scalp underneath of it? Like, how does that look like? Like, do you shower? I have so many questions. Like, do you shower with it? Do you have to? Like,
well, yeah, I'm sure. I think you probably shower with it. In that
so you
situation.
Just do it like you're like. What does your hairline look like?
If it's real hair, you wash your hair then.
Yeah.
You wash your hair like you had hair.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't be that different. It is crazy to think though. I didn't realize until seeing this that. I guess I just like. I feel like you assume that like all the bad toupees are the only toupees. Right?
Yeah.
You just feel like,
he's wearing a
toupee. Look at that toupee. He's wearing this toupee. Why toupees are crazy? Why would you do toupee?
Wow.
We have no idea how many people are wearing these toupees now.
Yeah.
That's like how many people are wearing contact lenses. I don't know.
Yeah.
How many people have toupees?
Me.
No freaking clue.
That's wild.
There may be way more toupee wearers walking
fascinating.
around with these perfect toupees, and I have no idea.
Wow.
This is blowing my mind.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I have a zillion questions.
It also seems like a huge pain.
Wow, it does.
Seems super irritating.
But hey, if it makes you feel better, I'm all about confidence.
Hey, I'd be fooled by that. I'd be totally fooled by that. So this was an interesting development over only a couple days. It
was cool.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting time.
Right.
There was a report that Rockstar had been
on Monday.
Monday. That Rockstar had been working on 100-hour weeks on Red Dead Redemption 2. And how many times we heard this story, right? The crunch is what it's become, and towards the end of development cycles, or even earlier in development cycles, and sometimes we hear about like basically workers that are pretty much working under more or less abusive conditions, right? Crazy hours, not getting paid for them, maybe not getting paid at all sometimes. And we heard about it with Rockstar before. GTA 5 was like this.
Right.
LA Noire was like this, although they didn't develop it, they just published it. So I'm not sure if that counts, but they were at least associated with that kind of thing.
Sure.
So it's like, oh no, here we go again. Red Dead Redemption 2. And this guy, it was Dan Houser, who used to be with Rockstar. I don't think he's still there, but he's one of the senior guys, right? He's one of the guys that like gave us Red Dead Redemption. And the interesting thing about it is it was followed up by another article shortly after that. Can you go to
Yes, I can. Next slide.
Okay, on that Thursday, like the one article was Monday, this came out Thursday, that Rockstar then allows employees to speak out on 100-hour week controversy, because it did kind of ripple into a lot of the gaming media news.
100 hours.
If you follow that kind of stuff, you probably heard about this, I think.
Yeah.
But apparently this, we have to take this with a grain of salt, right? Because this is kind of like Rockstar funneled employees like, here, go say something.
Or say whatever you like. Yeah, go ahead.
Say whatever you like, but like we don't know if they had to approve this stuff. We don't know if other stuff they didn't like.
That's a good
point. We have no
point.
idea. We could speculate about that all day, but what we have here is letters from people who worked on this game at Rockstar who basically said, I didn't experience that at all. There's somebody that said that they worked occasionally I think at some points like 50-hour weeks, but they were getting paid overtime and being told by their boss repeatedly to go home, basically. Like, so I'm thinking like it's a possibility that it really was overblown and that the crunch issue maybe didn't apply in this particular case. Because even the guy who wrote that first article, or the interview rather, he didn't write the article, the guy who was the interview, Dan Hauser, he clarified afterwards that he was referring only to a small team of senior staffers, like senior staff, that actually worked those crazy hour weeks. So it's like the really high up leadership guys that like, it is still crazy, but the people that kind of go to those places in any company are the guys that often end up putting in some really ridiculous hours when the thing really is important and really matters. You know, they just do that because that's why they're where they are. So in that kind of situation, it almost makes it like, so Rockstar is kind of like every other corporate job out there, like where you go in and have a desk and work, and you have a 40-hour work week, and maybe you work a little bit longer sometimes if you got to get some extra stuff done. We all do that, right? But
she, there's a woman here who was a programmer who works for Rockstar, and she was talking about how she, like, her regular workload. She said she's never worked more than 50 hours a week. That's rare, but she works about 2 to 6 hours of paid overtime a week. That's a lot. She's non-exempt, so her overtime pay starts at 1.5 times salary and scales to 2 times after 8 hours of OT in a week, or 12 hours in a day, in accordance with the law.
But
so she's occasionally been asked to work on weekends. But 2 to 6 hours, I mean, if you think you have a 5-day work week, and say it's 4, that's like an hour late every day. Almost every day. That's
about an hour late every day.
Or a couple hours late a couple times a week. Which could really cut into your home time, your you time.
It could. You know? It could. But a lot of these people, this is their, like, also their passion. Doing this, you know.
Some people love it and want to.
I mean, like, when it's your passion, you sink in extra time into doing it. And there's it's like it's still work, but it's less work.
Well, that's why she mentioned here that the few occasions where she worked late are generally because I'm in the zone and don't want to stop until I finish some tricky problem. And I understand that, especially definitely if you're working with something creative. And there's a lot to be said, or just in general, like if you're doing something, there's a lot to be said for that zone.
Finishing a thought.
And it's so hard. You really operate like that. If Maddie's in
I have to get into a zone.
And then
if I'm in there, like I'm getting stuff done, and if it gets disrupted, you got to find your way back there. Like, and that's difficult. And like distractions and interruptions interrupt that. So the momentum is a super important aspect of a lot of this kind of work. I totally get it. So reading that is kind of like, sounds kind of normal, right? But it's.
I do. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I still hope that that's really the case here. I don't know how to feel about it right now. Like, I'm sort of feeling skeptical, but sort of like, well, maybe they're just actually not. Like, I'm thinking it's plausible that Rockstar got this huge heat from publishing L.A. Noire, which was making headlines for the problem, and developing GTA 5, which made headlines for the problem. I feel like it's plausible that maybe they decided we got to change this because this blew up and was crazy, and we have to fix what's happening, and they actually made policy changes. That's possible. But I don't know. I'm hoping.
And even so, even though if a handful of people had a 100-hour work week, even though they were high up on the totem pole or whatever, I still don't like the idea of anybody working a 100-hour work week. That is, I feel like, not just for your own sanity or whatever, but I feel like it's unhealthy. I don't like that. I don't like that somebody would be working 100 hours a week. No matter how busy they were or whatever, I still feel like the more into like my working life I'm getting, the more I'm kind of admiring other countries that have 4-day work weeks, or a really long break in the middle of the day to kind of enjoy your life a little bit. Or maybe it's from working in hospice, and I've spoken to people in hospice, and you say to them, like, what are your regrets? Or the family says, what are your regrets? And they say, I worked too much. I spent so much time at work. I should have been at home with my family. I was providing. I was trying to get more money. Like, it was all out of love to work harder to make a better life for your family. But that's so common that they say, I just worked too much. I didn't spend time with my kids.
I feel like
I missed this,
so
I missed
often,
that. I should have traveled.
So often in that situation, though, it's like I don't want to like parade around like it was a choice for a lot of those people.
That's very true.
You know, it's like, I do feel like it's a choice for people that are working 100-hour weeks.
Yeah.
Like, in general, you know, it's usually a choice.
There's a difference between like 3 jobs to stay afloat.
Yes.
You know, 2 jobs to stay afloat.
Yes.
You know, there's a big part of that.
But I feel like that has too much to do with individuals here.
Yeah.
Because that's making the assumption that everybody who works a lot is sad because of it.
Right.
And I don't think that's true.
No, I don't think so either.
And there's a lot of
some
people
are
that,
fine.
like, and a lot of people at the top, like, echelon of companies like this are only there because they like, it's their dream to do it. Like at a company like Rockstar, you know, and they want to be doing that. But the thing is, I don't think this was like that. I think that this was kind of told in an air to me that came across like he was bragging about, like, we put 100-hour work weeks into this thing. Look at like the fruit of our labor, not thinking that's like, that's too much time to work. Are you abusing your workers? And he had to wait and be like, oh, okay, hold on. I feel like he was just boasting, just beating his chest a little bit. And that probably comes from, number one, an exaggeration. And in like a 100-hour work week. What a round number that is, really. Do you think it's perfectly 100-hour work week? And then also, it was probably referring to like that 1 week during development that things went crazy. Went nuts, and then just be like, yo, you know what? We worked like almost 100 hours this week. Wow, let's, you know, and then he gets to go later and be like, we worked 100-hour work weeks.
That's true.
It kind of feels like that to me. And that's why I think Rockstar was probably like, what are you talking about? Let's have the people actually say something about it. And they're like, yeah, we're not doing that. That's kind of what I feel
sounds
like.
more like
gut, that's what I feel like
might have what happened. I don't like the idea of people bragging about working 100. That's like people who brag that they only got 3 hours of sleep last night or 4 hours of sleep last night. And it's like, dude, that is unhealthy. That's like, I smoked a whole pack of cigarettes in an hour. You know, and it's like, you're so badass. Like, go to bed, be healthy, take care of yourself. You know, I feel like that it falls into that. Like, I worked 100 hours. I slept 3 hours last night and I'm just on coffee, you know?
I think he's just proud of what they made. And is like saying, basically just trying to say, we worked really, really hard on this and we can't wait for everybody to play it. I really think that's the only thing that was actually trying to be communicated here.
I hope so.
And it just came across in this weird way. That's kind of how I feel about it.
True that. Okay, it's time for the subreddit of the week. And another spooky one. Where's my spiders? Look, here's my spider webs. So spooky. And we're getting creepier. So if you have any, you know, minors in the room, you know, like really, really young kids, you might want to get them out because this is some creepy stuff. I looked at like the first 5 here or so and I was like, this is creepy Wikipedia. I think I talked about it on a stream a little while ago. And it's creepy Wikipedia entries and pages about really eerie situations and things that have happened. And I made the big mistake of reading this or going through this a little bit late at night. And I wound up staying up later than I should have digging into it because for some reason these creepy type subreddits, you kind of get lost in there after a little while once your mind is kind of okay with being in that space. So like, for example, what do you call it? This is the last painting. Oh dear, Theodore Gericault ever did. Shows him gaunt and withered as a result. Maybe. Tuberculosis. He's known for painting the macabre, including portraits of psychiatric patients, severed head and limbs. Many of his family members struggled with insanity, including himself. Yeah, his paintings, if you've ever seen his paintings, they are crazy horrific. Let's see what that looks like. Oh my God. Tuberculosis. Jeez. Horrible disease. Wow. Horrible. Yeah, that's at the top of all time here. This one freaked me out. Scientology headquarters, where over 160 911 calls were made and police repeatedly denied entry.
Wow.
Look at this. Fort Harrison Hotel, flagship building of the Flagland-based Church of Scientology spiritual headquarters in Clearwater. Look at that. There was
notable incidents?
Prison-like conditions, forced labor, and other human rights violations. Described the situation in an affidavit. Some of us slept on thin mattresses on the bare cement floor, crude bunk beds, no place for clothes, so we lived out of suitcases. Women and men separate bathrooms, but they were small, not allowed to shower longer than 30 seconds, run through the shower and out the other end. Woke at 6:30, hard labor, heavy construction work until late afternoon. Food consisted of leftovers from staff. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is the stuff right here.
3 suspicious deaths since 1975. After spending one woman 17 days in room 174, blood clot caused by dehydration and bed rest.
The church later challenged the findings of the autopsy.
Oh, look at this guy. This guy found dead at the hotel, discovered in a bathtub filled with water hot enough to have burned his skin off. Officially reported the cause of death was drowning. Guys.
Oh, the coroner noted that when he was found, having his head was not submerged.
Oh my God. I don't they have like I feel like they're going to knock on I am so scared of Scientologists. I kid you not. You know, like some people are afraid of like thunder, you know, deep water. I'm scared of Scientologists. I have such like a really, don't they have like the cops in their pocket? Or something, like they pay off the cops or something like that.
Yeah,
like
in the regions like around their around their areas. They have so much money. They have so much money.
So much money.
Yeah.
I know. And, you know, we've watched that show, Scientology, The Aftermath with Leah Remini. It's really
super interesting.
It really is, you know, and it's crazy. TIL, today I learned that up until September 01, Saskatoon police officers would take drunk Native Indians, or Native Americans, I guess, and drop them off outside of town to freeze to death. Called it a Starlight Tour.
2001?
Oh, this was in Saskatchewan. Freezing deaths. Their deaths were caused by members of the Saskatoon police, officers of which arrested Aboriginal men, usually for drunkenness and or disorderly behavior, drove them out of the city in the dead of winter, and abandoned them. The practice was known as taking Aboriginal people for starlight tours.
Holy crap.
Hypothermia. No evidence of police involvement. Oh my God. Oh, one guy was dropped off on the outskirts but was able to call a taxi. Yeah! Suffered no ill effects. The two officers involved claimed they had given him a ride home and dropped him off at his own request, but were convicted of unlawful confinement and sentenced to 8 months in prison.
Wow.
Oh my
That's
God.
Crazy.
1976, an officer was disciplined for taking an Aboriginal woman to the outskirts of the city and abandoning her.
Jeez, that's terrible.
That is terrible. That is. This guy's Willie Francis, a 17-year-old murderer, survived the electric chair after screaming for help while being executed. He and his lawyer fought not to execute him again, saying he had already been executed. Yeah! Good for you! The chair malfunctioned.
Sentenced to death at age 16?
You know, I just saw something that the state of Washington, I think it is, just outlawed the death penalty for juveniles.
They just
did
that?
They're leaving it up to the states to say that if you could give a juvenile the death penalty. I
didn't know that.
Yeah. Is that not crazy?
You give a juvenile the death penalty?
Yeah. What year was this? In 1947.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Oh, but he died at 18. Wait a minute. Oh, they executed him anyway.
Or is that the one that... Oh, no. He was 17 when he survived the first attempt to execute him.
I like this picture of him, though. Yeah, I'm alive.
I survived. I survived the electric chair.
I did it. I survived the electric chair. What did he do?
Oh, God, it's terrible.
What
the hell did he do?
He was...
a pharmacist was shot and killed. Okay. Oh, what? Hold on. A pharmacist in St. Martinville, Louisiana was shot and killed. His murder remained unsolved for 9 months, but in August 1945, Willie Francis was detained in Texas due to his proximity to an unrelated crime. Police claimed that he was carrying Thomas's wallet in his pocket, though no evidence of this claim was submitted during the trial.
What state is this?
Louisiana. Wow. Well, 1944. This is Louisiana.
Oh my God. Francis confessed to the murder.
Less than 100 years ago, guys.
Oh, but wait, look at this. Francis confessed to the murder, writing, "It was a secret about me at him." The meaning of his statement is uncertain. It alludes to rumors in St. Martinville of sexual abuse of the youth by the pharmacist. Oh my God.
Francis later directed the police to where he had disposed of the holster used to carry the murder weapon. Oh, the gun used to kill Thomas was found near the crime scene. It belonged to Deputy Sheriff of St. Martinville who once threatened to kill Thomas. The gun and the bullets recovered from the crime scene and Thomas's body disappeared from police evidence just before the trial.
Oh my God. I think if that malfunctioned, I think you get to live.
You made it, man.
Yeah, he did it. They're like, they executed him. He didn't die. So now what? You can't execute him twice. Wow, that is crazy.
This is crazy.
During his trial, they called no objections, called no witnesses, and put up no defense.
The validity of Francis' confessions were not questioned by the defense, although he had no counsel at the time.
At like 17 years old. Oh my God. Yeah. The subreddit is crazy.
And he was 15 at the time of the crime.
Yeah. There's some really, really creepy stuff in here.
Jeez.
You know, a lot of like
Wikipedia, guys. I mean, not Wikipedia. Wikipedia, yes, but Reddit.
Yeah, creepy Wikipedia.
Creepy
I know.
Wikipedia.
This is one that you could get stuck on for a while, and you're like, oh,
yeah, I could just hang out on this page.
Yeah,
forever.
I was surprised how long I hung out here, but yeah, it's like unbelievable.
Okay, guys, and finally, let's have some fun. The Red Dead Redemption 2 launch trailers came out.
I'm so excited.
We are so close to getting this game. I'm psyched.
Close.
We're about to play it. It's gonna happen.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Yeah,
Wait, you sure you want to see this?
Oh yeah, it's a launch trailer. I want to see the launch trailer. It'll be story too.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of footage out there.
I've avoided the gameplay.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
I have avoided everything. I want to be completely surprised. So
Yep.
I hope this doesn't give it away too much. Ready?
Yep.
Okay.
One more big score. We got enough money to leave. What do you think?
What do you think?
Nothing means more to me than this game. I would kill for it, I would happily die for it.
I wish things were different.
But it weren't us who changed.
Trust me, Arthur. Just one more.
There's always a goddamn train.
I don't want to kill all these folk Dutch. Just you.
What about loyalty?
Loyal to what matters.
Do as you're goddamn told.
Oh no! Let's kill animals.
Red Dead Redemption 2, coming October 26th.
Okay. All right.
All right, that didn't tell us much.
Yeah, that was kind of a lackluster launch
that's
trailer.
okay.
But they have given away so much of this game because of all the gameplay videos. But the game is so big that they were able to give away hours of gameplay. And it's still just scratching the surface, right? I mean, the first Red Dead Redemption was huge.
Yeah.
As you guys, most of you know, it's possibly my favorite game of all time. And GTA 5 was freaking huge.
Oh my god, I love GTA.
So we know this game is going to be a Rockstar open world game, which is going to be gigantic, right?
Yeah.
And I just cannot wait. I've seen grumblings of like Games Press that has got a chance to play it on Twitter and stuff, and everyone seems to kind of unanimously feel like they're kind of redefining the open world genre a little bit. With this thing. Like how things are just alive, things are happening all the time. Like it's not just like, well, they'll wait for you to go there.
Oh yeah,
like,
for a situation to happen.
It's much more of a living world, and like the way
wow.
that people react to you as you're walking through and talk to them apparently looks so much more natural.
Oh, that's
and it feels much more live. So there's people that were very impressed and struck by it as what they're talking about, and they all have specific examples of what they're saying. But having not seen it myself, you know, I should take their word for now.
God.
I just can't wait to get into it. And I mean, this is a company that popularized the open world genre to begin with GTA 3. Way back in the day, they kind of made this whole genre happen.
Yeah.
That everybody else eventually jumped on. So they're still doing it and still leading the pack. And I'm so excited to see this game. I think I'm afraid I'm setting the bar too high, but I feel like I'm about to play like an excellent like genre defining game. I feel like it's gonna happen, you know?
It's gonna be amazing.
They've done it too many times
we're doing a long
before.
play.
You know, it's not unreasonable to think they're just gonna do it again.
Yeah.
You know? They have such a track record.
Oh my god, I can't wait to do a long play on this. It's probably gonna be like
great.
45 parts.
Oh yeah.
Because we're gonna
we'll
want
be
to
doing
run
it
around.
forever.
Oh my god.
Because
you know what?
we're
I don't care.
parenting.
It's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm psyched.
But we'll do our best to have Tomb Raider done in the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
We got all kind of sidetracked from all of this.
Yeah.
And because
schedule went a little
I'm
off.
so exhausted. We wanted to record a Tomb Raider tonight. I'm too tired.
No, it's not gonna happen.
So apologies if there's like a little bit, you know, if there's like a day or here that we miss a Tomb Raider, but we'll do our best to get them all up before this comes out because, oh my God, I can't wait for this.
Yes, indeed. Okay, guys, that was this episode of the BS on the Internet. I can talk. It's in there somewhere.
It's okay. It's okay. We're tired. We're overwhelmed. We're emotionally drained. It's been insane. I think we just need to go to bed.
We need to go to bed.
We need to finish watching Shane Dawson.
Yes.
And that hour 45 episode that was so long.
Thanks,
finale.
Jane.
I know. We tried to watch it last night and I was like, oh God, I'm so
We got
tired.
about halfway through. We're like, good night.
And we were like, I gotta go to bed. But I know, I really want to finish that. And then like, it's 11:30 right now. Like,
it is 11:30 already.
We gotta relax a little bit.
Thank God it's Friday for us right now. It's Friday.
I know. So thank you for letting us talk that out at the beginning of this episode because, oh my gosh, like I've just been like on edge all day. Like I haven't quite shaken it off, you know, so, but he's fine. You know, he's sleeping. He's lovely.
He's
So,
good. Well, if you want to read more about anything else we talked about, links are in the description. And if you like this video, please support us on Patreon. Click like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.